Hello, seniors, class of 2021. It is January 26th, 2021, and I am Miss Wickers, one of your counselors. We're going to be talking all about financial aid today, so please pay attention, period. I wish this could have been an in-person or synchronous lesson where we meet and talk about this stuff because it's so important, but please watch all of these slides over and over if you need to. Here we go. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can calculate the cost of attendance for the colleges that you're considering. We're going to review scholarship information and tips. We're going to be reviewing all types of financial aid, which also includes the Ascent program. We're going to be reminding you of Maya to get your stuff into the Maya Learning app. And of course, our favorite is we're going to be ending with ICAP questions. Yay! Okay, how much will college cost? Well, these numbers may not be exact, what you're seeing, because they're going to vary from school to school. But overall, you can see as you look across these columns, community college is the least expensive, has a wide variety of programs, including certificates for things like different levels of automotive maintenance and repair, business certificates. We're not talking about degrees. Yes, they offer associate's degrees, which are 2-year degrees, but they also offer various certificates. Those are excellent options. We're not trying to push you towards that. It's just a really good wide variety of options at a very affordable cost. Then the next middle column, you have what we call public universities. Public means it's funded a lot by our tax money, not solely, but a lot. And it is open. It is generally less expensive to get in. The flip side of that coin is public universities serve many students. University of Colorado Boulder has at least 30,000 students. It's a great school, but they're big. So if that's not something you're comfortable with, you need to get on a virtual tour or go walk around the campuses just to see what it feels like for you and imagine that being bustling with students. They have a lot of resources. The flip side is that their financial aid is usually not as high as maybe a private college because they have many students that they are supporting with financial aid. Then in the last column, you have private colleges. Examples in Colorado include University of Denver, School of Mines, Colorado College, Regis University, and some others. Those are called private, meaning some, but very little of their funding to run the school and offer classes. Very little of it comes from our tax money, and it mostly comes from fundraising that they need to do. So often, because of that, they don't have a huge base of automatic guaranteed funding, so they are often more expensive. They have to charge more for tuition. These schools tend to be lower in enrollment, so smaller student body size, so that may feel comfortable for some. And then the flip side is that they often can offer much more generous financial aid packages, institutional aid from the college themselves. However, the cost to attend a college will rarely be exactly the same from one student to the next. It depends on a lot of factors, such as your financial need, how much you are able to bring in yourself with other scholarships, how much your family is able to contribute, which is part of your financial need. So one really short way to calculate the cost or to get a really good estimate of what your college will cost for you and your family is to do the net price calculator. I'm going to jump out of these slides, go to a tab, and I'm going to show you how to do the net price calculator. Seniors, please do this for every college you are considering. And then I want to show you an example of a tracker later that you can then keep track of this and compare college to college as far as what it's going to cost you. So hang tight. So to find the net price calculator, you just open a new tab on your internet browser. Literally type net price calculator, excuse me, and then the name of any college you're interested in. Let's say it's Colorado State University, Fort Collins. So you just type net price calculator followed by the name of the college or university. There's the one that we want right there. You check to make sure it's at that college. It's not some other website. So admissions, Colorado State, any website that ends in edu is an educational institution, usually a college. So that is the correct website to go to. Okay. As you can see, this is part of their website. You would not necessarily see this when you open their website and start searching around. That's why you need to go to the search bar and type this in. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions. So continue as guest. Let's say you just want to check it out. As you can see, it's going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Some are really super easy at first, and then it's going to get into more details. Test scores. Is your GPA that you're telling them weighted or unweighted? You can see that on your transcripts. And remember, your transcripts are viewable in Student Portal. It's going to ask this kind of question. That's just a number that's an example. You don't need to enter that. Of course, you should enter whatever is correct for your family. How many family members, including you, the student, will be enrolled in college at the same time? So, for example, when you're going to college next year, if you and an older sibling who are both living at home and both dependent on the family income to some extent, even if you're working, unless you're completely supporting yourself outside the family, 100% with no help, you are still considered a dependent. So if you and another sibling who are considered dependent on the family are both living at home and both going to college, you need to enter that number to be 2 in this case. Parents' marital status. It's going to ask you more about financial stuff. If you've done the FAFSA, it's not nearly as complex to do the net price calculator, but it's going to ask you some of the information. Assets could include if they own a house, or they own a car, or a couple cars, they own a business, that kind of thing. You need to get those rough numbers from your family and be accurate, because the catch is you're not trying to hide income in order to get more money from schools and scholarships, because they're going to find that out eventually. You don't want to be counting on a certain level of financial aid and then have the college or scholarship get the real numbers and then come back and say, I'm sorry, that is not the financial package now that we have the accurate numbers from you. They need to see your FAFSA. So that is why it's important to do the FAFSA. But this tool, Net Price Calculator, is how you can get an idea of the estimate of the cost to go to that college. Again, they're going to refer to the formal official numbers in the FAFSA, but this is a way you can get an idea of what it's going to cost you and what you need to cover with scholarships and loans and other forms of financial aid. So be accurate for your own benefit. As you can see, it continues. So coming back to our slides, that net price calculator is available for any college or university in the country. It's been a law for a while, so it may not look like it just looked there because that was on CSU's website. If you type it in for University of Denver or another school, it's going to look a little bit more like their own website, but it's going to ask you similar types of questions. So I'm not going to leave this because this one's super important. One more time. Students, seniors, you need to be doing net price calculator today for every college you have been accepted to. Today and tomorrow and for the rest of this week and next week. Pretty soon you're going to have to commit to one or the other colleges. Please do this before you commit. Okay, we're going to talk about all the types of financial aid now. Starting with grants. Grants are free money. You do not have to repay them. An example is the Pell Grant. It is based on your financial need. When you complete the FAFSA, your student aid report will tell you if you qualify for any grants, and it will tell you if you qualify for the Pell Grant. So if you did the FAFSA, you need to be looking in your emails from FAFSA, and you need to be looking for one of the emails that includes the student aid report right here, student aid report, or SAR as it's called. Another type of financial aid is work study, where you work part-time for the college and in a job. It might be, in their library. It might be in a dorm if you're living on campus. It could be a bunch of different things. And the pay that you would receive goes directly into paying down your tuition. You don't take that away with you, but it offsets your tuition to reduce your tuition. It's not enough to cover the full tuition. It's a piece of a patchwork that you're going to need to help cover the cost of college. Scholarships are offered through, the institution, like the colleges that you're applying to. That's called institutional aid. Other organizations that offer scholarships like Coca-Cola, Jack Kent Cook, uh, there's a myriad of them, and they are listed. A lot of them are listed on Ms. Rodriguez's class of 2021 Schoology site. The other types of organizations are the scholarships that you are probably applying to when you have to apply to several of them. So to review scholarships, you've got scholarships through the college, which are called institutional aid, and then scholarships through other organizations, which are just all kinds of scholarships. Remember, this is what that Schoology site looks like when you're in Schoology. That's the classroom you need to go into, and that has lists of scholarships under one of the folders called Scholarship Resources. So right here, reviewing all types of financial aid, there's 3 of them right there. Grants, which are free money, you don't have to repay it. They are need-based. You'll find out if you qualify by doing the FAFSA. Work study, you work part-time on the campus or for the college somewhere. You may not be on campus. And your pay goes to paying down your tuition. Scholarships through the universities or colleges themselves, which is institutional aid. And then all other scholarships, which are through private or other organizations. You'll find, as you may be finding now, that you're not going to have 1 or 2 scholarships that are going to cover everything, cover your entire tuition. It's going to likely be a patchwork of all of these things that's going to help cover your college costs. Another type of financial aid is student loans. It is money that you can borrow as a student, up to $5,500 per college year. Please don't be afraid of student loans, but please do keep them as a last resort. So if you're hoping to never have a student loan, or you're hoping to avoid student loans, then what you need to be doing is applying for much more scholarships, many more scholarships, to get as much free money as you can. So anytime you take out a loan, including a student loan, the way that the people lending you the money can make any money at all, like for their jobs, is to charge interest on the loan that you take out. So if you take out $30,000, when you go to repay that, you're not just repaying $30,000, you're repaying $30,000 plus interest. And that interest will accrue over time. It's not just a one-time thing. So it's not just $30,000 plus $3,000. It's $30,000 plus the interest rate over the time you have the loan. So it's extra money above your student loan amount that you have to repay. It's how the interest is how those lenders get paid themselves. It's how they make money. Otherwise, it wouldn't be profitable for them to loan you money. Interest begins accruing from the moment you take out the loan until you pay off the loan. A typical loan length of years for repayment is 10 years. It can go longer. What you want to do is make sure your payments are something you can afford, because you won't always have a high-paying job, especially when you leave college right away. So make sure that the payments that you calculate, and when you go to take out student loans, you will find there's a loan payment calculating tool. The interest that's accruing for those college years, that's accruing on your loan amount during college, gets added into your total loan amount just before you begin payments. And that's once you begin payments, once you complete school. Now, it doesn't mean that you complete a degree. If you drop out halfway through college, within 6 months of leaving college, whether or not you got a degree, you have to start making payments on that loan. So if you're going to take out student loans, you got to mentally commit to finishing your degree, because not finishing the degree is going to make it harder for you to get a job in the field you want, as well as at the pay that you want. But those loans are still going to be due 6 months after you stop going to college, whether or not you have that degree. So if your loan payments are going to be $500 a month, you want to make sure that that fits in your budget. So you want to make sure that you're in the field you want to be in, making the pay you want to make. So student loans, like I said, are not something to be completely afraid of. It just should be your last resort. So as that last statement says here on the bottom, what this means for your loan amount is if you take out a certain total, like I said, $30,000, and it is accruing interest over the 4 years you're in college, then that 30,000 plus that 4 years worth of interest are going to be lumped together, and that will be your new, what we call principal, or your new total due when you start making payments. I'm going to give you a personal example just to illustrate with numbers before we move on. In my graduate program, I kept my loan amount down a lot. I kept it down to $28,500 for all 3 years, which is very, very low because I was paying whatever I could pay on the side. That $28,500, when I got out of my degree and started making payments 6 months later, that amount was $41,000 that I owed total. So the interest that had been accruing changed my loan amount from $28,500 to $41,000. So that the difference there was the interest. So how do you know what type of financial aid you can qualify for? By completing the FAFSA. You've probably heard all of us say it, especially Ms. Rodriguez. Cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you do the FAFSA. This is a quick review. Financial aid sources: grants, work studies, and loans, and scholarships. Basically, that's just what we just covered. Why is the FAFSA important? Well, we kind of talked about that already. Everyone should fill out the FAFSA because everyone is eligible for some type of financial aid, regardless of your circumstances. You might find that if your family's income is adequate, even if they have not saved for college for you, if their income is considered at a certain level, your family will be expected to pay a certain amount towards college. Whether or not they have saved that money is a separate issue. So even if your family has, adequate resources, you may find that you are still eligible for loans, and you may be still eligible for scholarships that are merit-based instead of need-based, meaning it won't be based on your financial need. It will be based on your scholarship during high school, your test scores, your grades, your community service, other things. So fill out the FAFSA because, as you'll find, you will be eligible for some sort of financial aid. And completing the FAFSA is the only way to be eligible for federal financial aid through the U.S. Department of Education. So such as the Pell Grant I mentioned earlier, in work study, you will not be able to qualify for those unless you complete the FAFSA. Most institutions, like colleges and the separate scholarship organizations that you're applying for scholarships through, will need to see your FAFSA results to determine what amount of financial aid they can award you. Again, your colleges and scholarships need to see the FAFSA results so they know what your merit and what your need-based level is. You'll need to complete the FAFSA each year. Sorry for the typos, guys. You'll need to complete the FAFSA each year that you're in college. So it's not just a one and done. You got to do it each year. And it's not a big deal. Once you've done it, you know how to do it. So what else can you do to help reduce the cost of college, especially the parts that you haven't gotten covered yet? That's called your unmet need. Well, you can take concurrent enrollment classes, which you are already in. Apply for a CENT program, which we will cover in just a couple minutes. And of course, apply for scholarships. So most of you are doing all of this or are doing at least two of these things. You've been in college classes or concurrent enrollment classes, which will give you that credit to take forward. So it will reduce some of the time and cost of college by taking those college credits with you out of high school. Consider the Ascent program and definitely be applying for scholarships. Although your senior checklist only requires that you apply for 3 scholarships, that's probably not going to cover the cost of college or even most of them. Rule of thumb is no less than 10 scholarships, and more is better. Okay. There is an alternate to FAFSA. It's called CASFA. It's slightly different. I know these words are kind of weird. It's the Colorado, instead of federal, it's the Colorado or state application for state financial aid. So Colorado application for state financial aid instead of FAFSA, which is the free application for federal, meaning U.S. government student aid. It's just the level from which you are applying for aid, government aid from. So go ahead and read this. But basically, in 2019, the Colorado legislature passed a new law that allows students who do not have lawful immigration status to still access some level of state aid. And that's what CASFA determines. It's like the FAFSA. It doesn't give you money. It determines what you are eligible for. But it is an avenue for students that cannot prove lawful immigration status. You have to have been residing in the state for at least 3 years before graduating, and you have to graduate from a Colorado high school or pass the school equivalence exam, which would be something similar to the GED. For more questions on the CASFA and the FAFSA, fun words, please meet with Ms. Rodriguez immediately. You should already be making an appointment or have met with her this semester already. It's part of your senior checklist, so don't forget that. There's her contact information. There's her email. And then when you go back to that Schoology site that shows up in your Schoology every day, her appointment calendar link is in that cool little picture as soon as you open that Schoology site. Okay, strategies for winning scholarships. So you might be extremely talented and have wonderful GPA and all kinds of stuff. That doesn't automatically guarantee that you're going to win scholarships. And you guys may be finding that out now, that you're surprised that you are getting some, but not as many as you thought. That's why you need to apply for more. And you can't win a scholarship if you don't apply. So many students end up not applying. As it says here, the more you apply, the easier it gets because you can reuse your personal statement and essays and your letters of recommendation. Don't miss deadlines. Use a tracker to keep organized about what colleges you've applied to, what financial aid you're getting from them, what their cost of attendance is, and what scholarships you are winning so that you can look at how you're knocking down each of the costs of each of those colleges. Here's some stats for you. According to an admissions rep from MSU Denver Metro, 10% of the students apply for 90% of the scholarships. What this means is that 90% of students, and are you in this bucket, are applying for very few or in some cases no scholarships. Here's another fact. Of the students enrolled full-time at a 4-year college, this is in general, this is not necessarily Metro, now this is in general. So of students enrolled full-time at a 4-year college or university, 14.3% get enough grants to cover at least half of their college. Now, if you're hoping to get more than that, you can see how very few students actually get that much financial aid. So what's the answer? Right there below it. This means if you want to cover much more of the college costs than this before resorting to student loans, you need to apply for more scholarships. I know this is a lot of work, you guys. It is. It is. But it's the difference of how many loans do you want to have? How much can you afford for loans? And in worst case scenario, you don't go because of that. Don't let that be what stops you from going to college. Keep applying for scholarships. Just an example of a list of unusual scholarships. I'm going to leave this up for a few seconds. If you're interested in them, take a quick photo or screenshot it on your computer, and I'll be moving on in a few seconds. So tips for searching for scholarships. Start searching now if you haven't. Now we're still in winter, but we're in the spring semester. So if you start now, you can still get some. Please do, but you will have missed half the deadlines already. That's why we've been talking to you about this since last year, but especially talking a lot about it since August. Go to the Schoology site, that DMLK Class of 2021 Future Center site that you see in your Schoology every day. Scroll down to the folder called Scholarship Resources. It's a great folder. Please go there. You can also go to the internet, open a new tab, and start looking for scholarship matching services. Just type that in, or scholarship search engines. You can go to the DSF or Denver Scholarship Foundation website, and you can search in Maya Learning. There are some scholarships in there. That is a new tool for us, so we have not used that as much. I'm going to show you something real quick. The Denver Scholarship Foundation website. That's them. Apply for scholarships. Scroll down. Definitely apply for the DSF scholarship that they offer. You should be doing that, and you should be talking to Ms. Rodriguez. But they also have a scholarship database. Right here, scholarship directory. High school scholarships, undergrad scholarships. Undergrad means you are in your bachelor's degree. That's your first 4-year degree. Undergraduate. Once you get your bachelor's degree, then if you continue in college, you're going to be a graduate. So you will be in your master's or PhD program. So high school scholarships under the scholarship directory. Grade 12. As you can see by this little cursor over here, this little bar, how big this one spreadsheet is. And that was just 12th grade under high school. Tons and tons of scholarships are organized by date or deadline. So, and they've been vetted, so they have a lot of information here, and they have the link. Somebody's done a lot of work on here. So just to show you that, that's the Denver Scholarship Foundation website's scholarship directory. And again, we were just in one small part of it. So it does take time and effort to get these scholarships. But is it worth it? Well, that depends on how much you want to pay for college. Okay, I'm going to go back to the slides now. All right, so when I say search the DSF website, that's what we're talking about. Here's take a quick picture of this, guys. I'm going to have it up for a few seconds. Some examples of scholarships for undocumented students. Ms. Rodriguez knows of scholarships for students in different situations, so please meet with her. Okay, I'm moving on. Additional resources to search for scholarships. Some of these are search engines, and they're great. I'm still getting scholarship information from one called FastWeb. I started it a couple years ago pretending to be a student just to see how it works again, and I'm still getting emails from them. So that's a search engine. Some of these are going straight to an information website. Some of them are search engines. So like if you were to Google something, all the searches that would come up, That's what these search engines will do, but specifically for scholarships. And they will send you an email with ones that meet the criteria that you entered. So there are myriad resources for scholarships. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Just hang in there, guys. Okay, extra tips for all of your applications, scholarship and college. This one says use a professional email address. It doesn't have to be professional. I mean, professional is kind of an interesting word. That's a good example of having an email account that's just kind of neutral. It says who you are, doesn't say anything about you. It's got a good face out there in the world. Clean up the content of your social media. Google your name or search your name on the internet to see what shows up. It's always good to know what searches look like from outside of you. Save a copy of your application, save it in your drive or somewhere in case something happens to it. You can quickly get the information back. You can also prove when you did it by the date you saved it. And then, I'm sorry, there's some typos in here, guys. Look in your email immediately after you do any college or scholarship application. You should very soon have a response from them just saying, hey, thank you for applying. So that tells you that it got through to them. And then they will begin processing it shortly after that. Then check your email daily for responses from colleges and scholarships. All right, how else can you reduce the cost of college? By taking advantage of this 5th-year program called, we're going to talk about Ascent specifically, but there's also another program called Early College. We'll be talking more about Early College separately. Today, I'm just going to give you information on Ascent. Okay, Ascent program is a program through Denver Public Schools. It covers the cost for 1 year of college credits for any of the partner community colleges. Now, something that's been added is that not only does it cover the cost of community colleges in this region for 1 year, it is now valid for Metropolitan State University as well in Denver, so Metro. So community colleges and Metro. How do you know if you're eligible for the Ascent program? You have to have completed 12 college credits, which is equivalent to about 4 concurrent enrollment courses by the time you graduate. So, for example, how can you know that? Go into Student Portal, open your transcripts. You'll see the link to transcripts. Go through it, get your transcripts up, start counting all the college classes you've had. Do not count the ones that have a 0 number, such as CCR 094 or 092 or Math 055 or anything like that. It needs to be classes that have a 100 or 1000 level, such as Math 121, ENVS, which is your Environmental Science 1044 class. Ms. Bruce's poli-sci classes do count. So you go through and make a tally of each of those and then multiply by 3 because each college class is worth 3 college credits. It might be worth more, but a safe bet is 3. So if you have gotten a C or higher in at least 4 concurrent enrollment classes that meet those criteria I just mentioned, which are the 100 or 1000 level or higher, then you may qualify for the Ascent program. How can you become part of the Ascent program? Pretty soon, Mr. Cochran and the counselors will email seniors with an interest form and then giving you access to how to apply to it. We will be doing that pretty soon. I can't give you a firm date, but we will be doing that soon. So again, Ascent program covers the cost of 1 year of college in community colleges in the area and now at Metro, which is fabulous. You can participate in the Ascent program if you will have earned 12 college credits by the time you graduate. So if you're taking a couple now and a couple more in Q4, you may qualify. Look in your transcripts and look in your schedule. And then if you're not sure how to calculate how many college credits you have or will have, contact your counselor. And then how to apply, Mr. Cochran and counselors will be reaching out to you soon. Okay, before I go into the application tracker, I want to remind you, financial aid. Let me go back. I know this is kind of obnoxious to go back through the slides, but I want to show you as a visual reminder. Dun-dun-dun. Types of financial aid. Grants, free money. Work study, free money, but both of those you have to qualify for by need-based and merit-based, meaning grades and test scores as well, and scholarships. So grants, work study, and scholarships, you do not have to pay those back as long as you meet the criteria. Student loans, you will have to pay back. And then one more, I'm going to go back through the slides. So you've got grants, work study, scholarships, student loans, and the ASCENT program. So there's 5 things right there that are big, huge categories of financial aid. And how do you get access to some of them? FAFSA or possibly CASFA, and then applying for the ASCENT program if you're eligible. Okay, this is just an example. You need to be developing, I'm telling you, you need to be developing a tracker. Whether you handwrite it on a piece of paper and just create columns of your own, or you do it on a spreadsheet because that's your kind of thing, whatever works. Across the top, name of colleges, down the left side, all the criteria. This gives you a lot of other stuff. What I would suggest is you have the cost of attendance based on that net price calculator as one of your rows. You would have, cost of attendance, maybe break that down a little bit, like tuition, room and board, fees, books, other supplies. Because if you're not living on campus, then you won't have to pay for a room and board. And then beneath that, so basically what you're doing is you're listing the costs. It's like an accounting spreadsheet. You're listing what's going to go out from you, right? What's the cost? What are your expenses to go to college? Down that left side right here. So here, instead of all this stuff, you might just do, cost of attendance, and then tuition, room and board, books, supplies, other. So these are your outgoing expenses. And then list your incoming money, your income, basically, what's going to offset these costs. So let's say you put all these costs in and the cost is going to be $15,000 for a year. Down here, scholarships, grants, work study, loans, ASCENT, add the amounts of money that you reasonably are expecting from those or have been awarded. Well, specifically what you've been awarded. Don't write what you want, write what you've gotten. And then down here, you subtract, you just add them. Here's your negatives, here's your positives. What do you have in the end? Are you still owing money, or are you covering the costs? If you're still owing money, guess what? Add more scholarships applications. You may need to add in student loans, but keep them as low as possible. So please, please develop some kind of tracker like this. It will help you. It can be simple, handwritten on a spiral piece of paper. Make it more than a sticky note that's not big enough. Okay, going to jump over and remind you about Maya. So you know to go to Student Portal. Once you're in Student Portal, click on See All Apps. Then once you're on the next page, click Maya Learning. This will get you into Maya. Click on Universities tab down the left side. And you need to be adding your colleges. Into this, and you're requesting letters of rec through this. Please do not be putting in your colleges and then not telling us, or having the deadline be a couple of days from now. We won't find that out until we go into Maya on Friday and we've missed a deadline. So if you have a quick deadline, please notify your counselor and Ms. Rodriguez. You should be wrapping up college applications now, because most deadlines, I should say, are coming up very soon. You need to be on the college websites. You need to be finding out what those deadlines are, as well as the scholarships. You've got to track the deadlines. So actually going back, you would probably want to have a line for application deadline for all of your financial aid, as well as the college. Okay. Be entering your colleges into the universities tab, as well as entering letters of rec, requesting letters of rec. Questions about that, contact your counselor. Okay, back to Student Portal. Here's the part you probably remember from 6th grade. It's probably going to show up in your dreams for the next 10 years. We're going to do my ICAP questions. All right, so back to Student Portal. You're now selecting this menu tab here called My ICAP Plan. I'm frightened if this is new for anybody, but if it is, that's okay. That's why we're going through it. Answer 12th grade questions for quarters 1 through 3. If you're not sure of an answer, contact us. I have not gone through everything. I may not have gone through every question that is in there, but do your best to answer them. And remember, even though it's not shown on the screen here, you have other questions in other years of your ICAP survey you must answer in order to get your diploma. I will be sending out another email to seniors in the next week. So if you don't receive the email, that means you have all your My ICAP questions answered. If you receive the ICAP email, it will simply state you're showing up on a report that shows that you have not answered all the questions that you need to answer for your ICAP survey. Please go in and go through these questions and answer them. You guys don't have to answer all high school questions. You only have to answer certain ones. Next year's class has to answer all of them. So in that email, I will list which questions you have to answer as a group. I'm not going to give you one person exactly which ones you're missing. That's up to you. You got to go into your MyCap surveys from all 4 years of high school based on that email and just look through whether you've answered the ones I list in that email or not, and then answer them and save. Like it says right here, make sure you save. I've worked with a couple students when we were doing this and we forgot to click save and we had to go right back in and do it all again. So that's a big one right there. All right, that was a lot of information. If you have any questions about financial aid or tracking your colleges or anything I've said here or the Ascent program, contact Mr. Legg or myself, Ms. Wickers, or Ms. Rodriguez. All right, you guys, we love you, and you guys stay safe. Take care.